The fight for civil rights may seem like a chapter in the history books, but all across the South, there are living, breathing stories of incredible courage and extraordinary resilience in the face of ongoing injustice. Welcome to Southern Gumption. I'm your host, Andy Lee, and together we'll embark on a journey through history and the present day to reveal the unheard voices who have been instrumental in shaping the fight for voting rights, justice system reform, and environmental justice. It's about an hour drive from Raleigh to get to Sampson County. It's a rural community. Clinton is the biggest town with just over 8,000 residents. Once you get to Sampson, you'll be driving through endless farms, vast fields of sweet potatoes, soybeans, tobacco. Nearly half the county is farmland.
Some days it's so bad over here you can't even stand to drive through here.
Driving with me is Sherry White Williamson. She's lived in Sampson County her whole life, and she's the co-founder of the Environmental Justice Community Action Network, or EJCAN. Today, she's driving me through Sampson County on the organization's Toxic Tour. Why is it called that? Towards the start of the tour, Sherry quickly rolls down the window.
Yeah, you can smell it now.
Oh, wow.
And this is a good day.
The smell of Sampson County is terrible. Imagine you come home after a vacation and you realize you forgot to take out the trash before you left. Now times that by 1,000.
I think of it as a combination of rotting garbage and gas.
Maybe also like something died.
The smell comes from several sources. Massive hog and poultry farms cover the county. Smithfield Food has a meat processing plant here. You probably know them from their bacon or sausages. The company says about 10% of Sampson makes their living from the hog industry.
See one. Did you see that truck? Yeah. That's where they unload the hogs. This plant processes between 10 and 11,000 hogs a day. The plant that produces or processes the largest amount in the United States is in Tar Heel, North Carolina. They have the capacity to process 32,000 hogs a day. So you can imagine how many hogs they've got to be growing to be producing that many hogs just in two plants.
And of course, there's the hill. That's what locals call the GFL Environmental Sampson County Landfill. It started out as a local garbage disposal site in the 70s, and since then has become the largest landfill in the state and the second largest methane emitter in the country.
See the hill over there? That's the landfill. And you can see how unusual that is out here with all this. Everything else is flat, but that's trash and other stuff.
It covers over 13,000 acres. And it's made up of 25 million tons of trash from almost half the counties in the state, including Wake, Durham, and Orange. That much trash has a big impact on the lives of the people who call the surrounding land home. On the tour, Sherry introduces me to people who talk about buzzards damaging roofs, constant noise from the hundreds of trucks delivering trash daily, plus the impacts of the hog and poultry farms. On your drive through the county, you'll notice large fields with bright, almost fluorescent green growth, even in autumn. The fields are sprayed by these metal things that look like scaffolding on wheels that run the length of the field.
That contraption right there is the system that they use to spray the fields with the hog waste.
Hog waste. That's a polite way of saying pig poop. The waste comes from the hog lagoons. They're exactly what they sound like, massive pink and brown lakes of pig poop. Sampson County has over 700. Imagine living in a county with about 33 hogs for every person.
And of course, with the swine waste, it's sprayed on adjoining fields. And the problem with that is that folks out here can't put clothes on lines because they either will end up with hog waste on the clothes, or the odor from the waste will get in the clothes, and they'll just have to rewash them again. So most folks down here don't hang clothes out on the line anymore. A lot of the steeples on these churches are discolored as a result of the hog waste that's in the air when they spray on these fields. And a lot of them can't afford to have somebody to come out and go clean those steeples up off on the churches. So some churches now have just taken steeples down. A lot of churches in this area don't have steeples anymore.
But why? Why has this county been singled out and used as a dumping ground by the entire state? According to the census, nearly a quarter of the county's population is Black, and nearly 20% of the county lives below the poverty line. Like so many other communities of color, the Black residents of Sampson County are not seen, not listened to. The impact of growing up next to lagoons of hog waste and a landfill 3 stories tall aren't important because they're just happening to Black, brown, and poor people way out in rural North Carolina. Government agencies may slap corporations like Smithfield and GFL Environmental on the wrist with some regulation or permit, but Sherry says this leaves out the cumulative impact that these industries have on the health and well-being of impacted communities.
So cumulative impact simply means that you're getting exposed to multiples of whatever that pollutant is. So you've got 5 facilities in one area all emitting at the highest acceptable level of that toxin. You aren't just exposing that person to that toxin once, but you're exposing them to 5 times what they should normally have to be exposed to because of the way you are allowing permits to be issued in certain areas.
So we've got Smithfield and other hog farms and the landfill. And now Smithfield and Dominion Energy have built a facility to convert hog waste gas into energy. The industry calls itself renewable natural gas. It sounds like a great idea. But the truth is, that process would add another flow of toxins into the homes of Sampson County.
My children had talked about coming home after they retire, whatever, but they've just about changed their mind now.
That's Paul Fisher, a Black veteran who lives right next to the landfill and one of the speakers on the Toxic Tour.
Because when they come home, they usually come down through Salemburg 242 and come the back road. And you come that way, and then the first thing you see is a big pile of trash, all that stuff dumped up and down the road.
While he speaks, it's hard to not notice the landfill. It towers over him, taller than any of the trees or buildings in the area.
We don't do things outside with our kids very much anymore.
That's Maggie Underwood Royal. She's a Black retired nurse.
I've been here all my life. I'm 73. So before landfills and funk, I was here. This house has been here since 1971. And we would have carnivals and do things outside and, vacation Bible school. The little ones could go outside and play and all that kind of stuff. You play in the house now, because in the summertime it stinks. It stinks in the wintertime too. And there are buzzards everywhere. And you look up in a tree and you say, what's wrong with the color of that tree? It's black. It's buzzards.
Locals have tried to push back against the landfill's effect since it was built, many trying to get service from the county's water department. This would mean their water would be treated and brought in by pipes that are maintained by the county. Many Black residents in the area have well water. That's essentially just collected rainwater that's soaked into the ground, along with any contaminants that may be nearby. While sitting on her porch in her wheelchair, Maggie says her dad first tried to get on county water in the 80s, but it wasn't until last year that the county did a survey to see if they could.
And they came around and put notices on people's doors, and we met out there. And he informed us that we would need to pay $500, and that there were 42, I think, 40-something houses, but we had to have at least 42 to get the water lines run through. But all the roads are not state kept. They counted all the houses, but they wouldn't run water down those roads. And the people that live down there would be responsible for getting the line actually run down their road. Does that make any sense? You're gonna count the houses. You're gonna include them and say you got to have this many, but then those people aren't going to be able to get any water.
Maggie's road is home to mostly Black people, but just one road over is the Lakewood Country Club and Lakewood High School. Both are on county water. When Maggie and others reach out to the county officials or people from Smithfield or GFL,
they listen. They give you their answer. Now, it is polite, but not necessarily true. A polite lie. We are predominantly Black. Now, I'm not saying that they are prejudiced, but I am saying that it's not their friends and neighbors. We may work for them, with them, around them, but we're not them.
I think that is happening in Sampson County because the rural space provides an opportunity to do things without a lot of accountability.
That's Danielle Coombs. She's a PhD candidate with the University of Maryland, studying environmental justice issues in Southern communities of color.
I think the lack of having an organized central place where people can share grievances has really worked against us. And so what I found is, our county is roughly 84 miles long. It's one of the largest counties in the state. But it didn't matter whose house that I visited, and I visited houses all over. The people were saying the same thing. So they're very much well aware of the issues in their community. They know who's causing the issues. Many of them know the scientific information around the environmental issues that they face. But when it comes to who will I go to share this information or complain, that's when the ball drops. But people understand individually. There's not a collective understanding.
These experiences are not unique to Sampson County.
It's really about being Black in rural America.
Communities of color have historically disproportionately been affected by pollution and climate change. Many activists call environmental racism the new Jim Crow. According to research from Yale and Princeton, people of color are more likely to be affected by air quality issues and natural disasters. And lower income level, limited access to education and healthcare all contribute to undue suffering and burden.
When I'm reading about different places throughout the South, they all sound the same. They literally all sound the same. And, you have rural spaces, or you have, even if it's suburban or urban regions, they're full of Black and brown people who have been basically excluded from the decision-making table, and they've been overlooked. They've been dismissed, and decisions have been made on their behalf. Mm-hmm. And these decisions have created huge economic profits for the industries, but they've also left huge environmental burdens on the people.
There also seemed to be a great deal of sort of baked in mistrust or poor relationships with Smithfield, with sort of county officials, with the landfill operators, feeling like there is no sort of chain of communication or any kind of like trust between these entities and residents. Is that something that you have also found? Or
Oh, definitely. But it's not new, right? It's really being Black in rural America, which is something that most people don't get to peer into, right? So we talk about race issues a lot from the urban perspective. But when you think about living in the rural South, and I don't think this much has changed, honestly, probably before slavery, post-slavery, civil rights, until now, there is a huge aura of distrust in terms of, are the local officials, elected officials, industrial officials, are they working and serving on my behalf? You know, and the answer to that often is, I don't think so.
And in Sampson County, officials are creating one more reason for residents to distrust them. Our last stop on the toxic tour is the site of the proposed methane gas plant. It's the landfill's solution to the enormous amount of gas it releases into the atmosphere. The plant would sit right next to a busy highway on top of the landfill, right next to a hog waste spray field, a perfect snapshot of the county's polluters. The company claims the plant, the Sapphire Natural Gas Plant, would generate renewable natural gas that could replace fuel for trucks and buses and cut down the landfill's greenhouse gases. Natural gas has been pushed by the energy industry as a big component of North Carolina's transition to more renewable energy. On paper, it seems like a great idea, but the reality is much different. I think in 2024, it's very difficult to run a successful marketing campaign for a landfill of that size and magnitude that is so obviously harmful to the surrounding environment. But this landfill seems to be successfully doing that. What does that look like?
Well, part of it is that it's out of sight, out of mind for so much of the state. You know, we put our trash bins out at the curb and it mysteriously disappears.
That's Ann Harvey. She's chief counsel for environmental justice at SCSJ.
The other part is that energy producers have, and largely shepherded by Duke Energy, have promoted methane, also called natural gas, as a renewable energy or sometimes a bridge fuel to get away from fossil fuels and to reduce the state's carbon footprint as part of the carbon plan. The problem with that is that methane is a fossil fuel, and it might be cleaner burning than coal, but it is still an extractive technology. The burning of methane still emits other harmful pollutants into the air and environment, and it still contributes significantly to climate change. More problematically, even in this case, is that the use of or the greenwashing of methane as an energy source covers all manner of sins, from allowing hog waste lagoons to dot the countryside without any meaningful regulation, to allowing a new lease on life for this 51-year-old landfill that really should be reaching its point of cap and closure and instead continues to expand. And once the new infrastructure is put in for the Sapphire Natural Gas Plant, the argument to keep it open is going to be much stronger.
There's no relationship between the landfill operators and the community, no trust.
Politicians should not make money over the lives of people that they are supposed to represent.
That woman is one of many who spoke out against the plant at public comment meetings held by the Department of Environmental Quality, or DEQ, over the summer of 2022.
We need to be considering closing the landfill not expanding the landfill.
We do not need anything else in our community. So I stand here tonight just to say no to another polluting industry, no to putting our health at risk, no to putting money over people, no to the landfill digester.
It is no secret that this landfill is slowly killing us. If you allow this Sapphire gas facility to be added onto the landfill, you will only be exacerbating the already deadly effects of this landfill at the expense of the people.
The response to the outcry has been silence. No changes, no statements, no meetings, even as the toll of living by the landfill continues to rise.
How safe is your drinking water? A new report from the Environmental Protection Agency says that 20 new drinking water systems across North Carolina have been identified as exceeding the proposed safe levels for toxic PFAS contaminants known as forever chemicals.
The new EPA data shows another 328 drinking water systems across the U.S. contain these toxic chemicals, also known as PFAS. Some other toxic chemicals detected were up to 56 times greater than the proposed legal limit.
PFAS are a group of thousands of human-made chemicals that have been used in manufacturing since the 1940s, and they're known to be dangerous to human health.
That's Irina Como. She's a senior attorney at the Southern Environmental Law Center.
They cause developmental effects to infants. They cause all kinds of cancer, liver malfunction, high cholesterol, lower birth weight, obesity, decreased immune responses, and even reduced hormone levels and delayed puberty. We're continuing to learn more about their harms to health, and we're continuing to learn more about them. The number is constantly increasing, and they're very resistant to breaking down in the environment, and that's why they're called forever chemicals. Once they're in the environment, it's really difficult to remove them. And then the other thing about them is that they bioaccumulate. These chemicals accumulate in fish tissue, and then, as you go higher up the food chain, you see them in greater numbers. So this has been a public health emergency in North Carolina since we found out about the release of contaminated waste from Chemours in Wilmington. And we also know that this landfill has been accepting PFAS for over a decade. They have received hundreds of thousands of pounds of sludge from the company that has been manufacturing these PFAS for the past decade, which is extremely concerning.
As we head into 2024, what is on the table as the landfill looks to receive approval for this gas treatment plant?
So there are two things immediately in play. One is the final permitting and construction of the Sapphire natural gas plant on the landfill. And attorneys at SCLC are working really diligently with the community on evaluating their options there. Next to that, and concurrently, the landfill has submitted an application for renewal of its Title V air permit, which we expect DEQ to act on within the year.
I'm sure the community will be very engaged around that. And we and our partners will also be paying attention to make sure that that permit is as protective of the surrounding neighbors and communities as it can be under the relevant regulations and laws.
But even if you don't live in Sampson County, you can still have an impact, reducing your waste, composting, recycling, and you can impact the public process as the DEQ considers the air permit renewal.
You can offer comments to DEQ. You can follow EJCAN and partner organizations like SCLC and SESJ in our campaign to get stronger protections for this community. and involve yourself in that process, then you can also participate at the political level where a lot of these decisions are ultimately made.
Now, this road is his family land.
As the governmental bodies consider the facts and the statements from residents, life goes on in Sampson County.
If you had the opportunity to be at a table with all the decision makers of the industry people, you know, Smithfield, the landfill, the county, what would be your asks? What would be the bullet points you would give them?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, I would want to ask them to cap the landfill, to develop a plan to cap and close the landfill. Secondly, I would ask for more regulations around the hog and poultry farms. I'd also ask for an advisory board made up of citizens of the county that met with these industrial agricultural entities and were able to be in on the decision making, you know. So I think those are the things that I would immediately want to put on the table. And also I would definitely want to ask for more financial resources to go to our schools. I mean, Smithfield is a $1 industry. The poultry farms, $1 industries. The landfill makes a lot of money. Our schools should not be suffering for anything. I mean, we should have state-of-the-art schools from our pre-K to our high schools. I don't think anybody is saying we want you to just leave, but we want to share in more of the economic success, and we want you to burden more of the environmental issues. Because basically what they have said to us is, we're going to keep the cash and you're going to have to deal with the waste. And that is completely unfair.
Thank you for listening to Southern Gumption. If you like this episode, please leave us a review and share it with your friends. Make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on an episode. You can find out more about SCSJ and the work that we do at southerncoalition.org. Find us on Twitter at SCSJ or Instagram at SCSJofficial. I'm Andy Lee, and this has been Southern Gumption. For the South, by the South.